Many people assume that God's grace is missing in action where improvement is lacking. Okay, they think, well, grace doesn't work because this guy's not much better than he was 5 years ago. Okay, so many people assume that God's grace is missing in action where improvement is lacking. But maybe, okay, just maybe, my willingness to admit my lack of improvement in some ways is a sign of improvement. Maybe, just maybe, it's when I stop obsessing over my need to get better and instead acknowledge that I need grace. Maybe that's what it means to get better. Maybe it's different than what they told us. Maybe when we stop obsessing over our need to improve, that is what it means to improve. In other words, maybe God's grace at work in my life is my growing realization of how much grace I need, or how much grace I already have. Maybe that's the real mark of whether grace has gripped me. Not that I'm becoming a better and better person, whatever that even means. But maybe it's God's grace at work in my life is my growing awareness of how much I need it because of how much I'm prone to wander. How often in my heart, mind, whatever, leave the reservation, go my own way, do my own thing. And maybe my growing awareness of that and my need for God's grace, maybe that's what it really means to grow. Maybe growth, in other words, is more downward than upward. I've said this 1,000 times, but real growth is not I'm becoming stronger and more competent every day. Real growth is I'm becoming increasingly aware of how weak and incompetent I am and how strong and competent God's grace continues to be for me. That's growth. It's downward. It's not upward. Maybe we're looking for God in all the wrong places. Maybe when we look at other people's lives and we see that they don't have it as together as we do, their marriages aren't as good as ours. Their kids don't behave as well as ours do. They seem to lose job after job after job. They don't seem to be nearly as responsible as I am. They don't seem to be as sensitive as I am, as thoughtful as I am. Maybe, and therefore we conclude, well, they need more of God. Okay, or if that's true for us, we need more of God. But maybe we're looking for God in all the wrong places. Maybe God hangs out in the slums of our weaknesses and fears and failures and insecurities and stubbornness and frustrations rather than in the bustling cities of our strengths and accomplishment and goodness. In other words, maybe we find God in the dark alleys of life. Maybe that's where God shows up the most. We tend to think that the better we get, the more of God that we will see. But maybe it's the exact opposite. I mean, the Apostle Paul said at the end of his life, after he had accomplished so much, I mean, he wrote half the New Testament, planted churches all over the world. I mean, he was killed for his faith. I mean, that's a pretty impressive thing. He refused to back down, and as a result was killed for it. And at the end of his life, he said, I'm the chief of sinners. I'm the worst guy I know. I'm the worst guy I know. Not him, not her, not them, not that. I am the worst guy I know. That's growth. It's growth because it's an increased sense of self-awareness, which is always accompanied by an increased awareness of God's grace for us, how much we need it, how much we have it.